Well, nobody here, but at any rate,
Hey,
uh, I'm
do you want music?
yeah,
You just,
I'm Jack,
I'm cheap
and we are the Sober Brothers, bringing you nothing but sober facts and information on the paranormal.
with a little comedy.
Yeah, with a little bit of comedy thrown in.
I think it's important. So today's topic is, I'm just kidding. So, unfortunately, yeah, with last minute, we did not end up with information for a topic today. We welcome that. Um, Hopefully, we will happily converse with you. Any questions that you have, if anyone's in there. Is anybody in here today? I
I
guess we'll
don't,
find out shortly.
yeah, I don't see anybody in here yet.
All right. Well,
Chris, who was
so
gone fishing, is probably watching.
yeah. Click on a comment and show it. Live viewer comments show up. Oh my gosh, it's an example. Click on. All right. Well, we're going to just have a little conversations and let's see who comes in to talk to us because we didn't have a link up. And the last minute situation happens where Chris couldn't make it to the live with us. So it's up to us to have a little fun, and that's what we will do. So I was thinking, Jack, one of the topics that we could discuss would be things like what not to do during an investigation.
One of the things I very strongly recommend against is going into a location by yourself or sending a team member into another part of a location known to be active by themselves, especially someone who is new or may have certain medical conditions.
Yeah. For me, there's a lot of things too. I mean, like we talked about with equipment and other things too. I mean, there's tons of reasons you want to be careful with what you do. You want to have the knowledge. We brought that up before. It's important that you have that knowledge of what to do, what not to do, what to be prepared for. Preparation is crucial, right? You go into a place you've never been to before. And like every new enthusiast or any enthusiast, we're paranormal for a reason. We get enthused, excited. You don't want to go to a place without the knowledge that it could be dark, it could be evil, and you don't also want to emotionally exaggerate. You don't freak out emotionally in certain situations.
Absolutely.
It's understandable. It's understandable in an investigation. That's normal for members. Everybody freaks out. Whoa, that was caught me off guard. Especially when you go doing an investigation, you come across a mannequin in the closet. Been there. That's terrifying.
Uh-huh.
But there are circumstances that if you're not prepared, it's a worst case scenario situation. If I go fishing, there's my inside joke for you, Jack. If I go fishing and I bring everything to catch one type of fish and I get a 20-pound catfish, was I ready for this big old fat fish?
No.
Yeah, your host. So, yeah, it's better to be prepared for those situations and those circumstances. So have you, I think we talked about it before we started this, have you ever had can you think of a situation where you weren't prepared and crazy things happened?
Me personally, no. I always try to make sure I'm prepared spiritually, emotionally, mentally, even physically.
Yeah.
Dress for the weather.
Yeah.
The weather conditions, the conditions at the location, inside it.
Yes. Example would be the submarine in Muskogee.
Mm-hmm.
That thing gets a lot colder than what you think it is outside.
Mm-hmm.
We went in January and it was 30 something degrees outside. And when we got inside, it was 22.
Uh-huh.
I think it was like horribly cold. So yeah, that's important. I have a problem because I always forget equipment. Like every time I go in, I will go down my checklist, all the stuff I should bring. And I will get there, and there's something I forgot.
Like batteries.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. We had a situation where we were doing an investigation at a restaurant, and out of nowhere, we get there and we started looking around and realized the whole case of batteries isn't there. And we hadn't calibrated, hadn't synced everything together, hadn't, got all our equipment ready. Yeah. We're like, stuck, What do you do then? Yeah. Especially how much money. Oh, you know what? I did send a link for everybody to go to the wrong place.
Ah.
Wendy just came in, and Wendy doesn't know where she's all about to be interviewed. Just kidding.
Yeah,
Wendy, sorry.
I see Facebook user. Great show.
Yeah, well, yeah, thank you, Facebook user. I'm going to try to repost this thing again and see if we can get this straight.
Yeah, we're kind of winging it tonight because we didn't really have a topic.
Hey, we are streaming though.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was, okay, Scott. Thank you. I'm actually reading Facebook now to see that you did that. So wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, so I think it went streaming, which is good. I'm deleting this one. That way we're all good to go. So, I was talking about another problem with this situation also is the what not to do. So we were talking before we started about different parts, not just what not to do, but also how do you make money in doing paranormal? Where can you make the money enough to take care of the batteries, like you mentioned? Where can we make the finances enough to take care of certain things, especially equipment and stuff for the group? Mm-hmm. How does that work? So there's a couple different perspectives I've seen. Some paranormal groups, they like to get equipment for the group as a whole. Other groups like to do individually. What is your thoughts on equipment? Like, what do you think should happen for investigations?
Teams should have team equipment, and individual members have equipment as well.
And that way you can kind of have a big mixture of everything together.
Uh-huh.
So if you're going to do that, especially as an organization or group, then how do you handle it? How do you take care of it?
One way is for team members to pay dues to the team.
I've never thought about that before. Like paying a monthly rate or any particular
$20 a month per member.
Okay.
And
have you done that before?
Yes.
Is that what you're going to do?
We did that in pros.
Oh, that's good. Okay. That's really good. I've never thought about that.
That way we had funds for equipment that we needed, road trips, to locations. It would pay for gas, rooms, motel rooms and what have you.
Yeah.
Meals.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I've never thought of that before. Because like most of the groups that I've kind of experienced, because I did individuals so long, the groups I've been a part of, it was more about just being together, and you made money in different ways from that. So they did a lot of tours at places and help people learn how to use the equipment that they have. Mm-hmm. I've never thought about the fact that maybe doing dues would be a good way to go. If you like you did dues, where the group I work with didn't, is there a level of leniency in who's a member if you're going to allow people to pay dues? Are you more open to having people because they're making payments? What are your thoughts on that process?
Yeah, I can see that because there's some people that for whatever reason obviously can't afford to pay monthly dues, and you have to kind of work around that.
Well, but I'm referring to like you're selecting your members. Whoa, kick my table. Just kidding. So,
that's possessed.
Yeah, exactly. Now the shadow needs to pop up behind me. So what I'm thinking of is more on selecting your members. Right? So how do you go through that process if you're going to have someone paying dues? What is your method behind that? Do you allow people in because they can pay? Do you filter through an interviewing process? How do you handle it?
We always did an interview process, if I remember correctly. and we wanted to make sure they were going to be a good fit for the team.
Yeah.
Because you got to have that camaraderie, that chemistry, the cohesion.
Yeah. The groups that I've been a part of, they gave you a 3-month probationary period where you evaluated.
Absolutely.
Okay, is that what you do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what it makes sense to me. Bring them in, get used to the chemistry, and then have them work with different partners of the group during investigations.
See if they're going to be willing to learn, or if they're going to be a know-it-all.
Right. Sometimes even having a know-it-all or a person that you have that clash with can be a benefit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the hardest part is identifying the negative things like that. I tend to be a person sometimes that gets a little dramatic. I will tell you, yes, I am. So I can sometimes that can be a negative because I see things that I hope are there when they're not, which could be a negative situation.
Mm-hmm.
Which I've learned to overcome a lot of that. But sometimes like our co-founder's principle, she relies on the fact that if you feel it and think it, you need to say it. Express those feelings and senses that you have, because what you're getting delivered in messages is something that you feel, and someone else might not be attuned to that. So we'll go back to we'll say earlier to money making. So I think the hard part of the kind of blend us together. I think a challenge also is with some paranormal groups, you have tours that happen, bringing people through the processes, educating them on how to do investigations, or not investigations, but how to handle it correctly. How to dodge those negative situations. I think the challenge sometimes is that if you get too big of a group, you can have a lot of negativity that can happen between little groups. Little smaller cliques. I can't remember if we had someone on the show that said the same thing. Oh no, you know what? It was on Paranormal Pride. We were talking and how we discovered that usually having 3 members, 2 members is a lot less gossipy or dramatic than it would be for 8, 9, 10, 12 people.
Right.
I missed 11. 11's a prime number. So, but what are your thoughts on that? Do you believe that? How would you work through that to have a large group? What is your perspectives on it?
A large group is good because you can cover more ground at a location, but you also run the risk of noise contamination from other team members.
Yeah. Scott, I apologize, by the way. You're a Facebook user here, and I went to Facebook and saw your name, and I hope I didn't take away from your hiding out. I realized that was really bad.
Mm-hmm. Hello, Scott.
But I'm sorry.
My personal preference is a small team.
Okay. Yeah, and I apologize. Let's go back again. I realized I'm like, oh my God, I called him out. Didn't even ask if he wanted me to say something to him. Call his name. Holy cow, that was dumb. So we went from great show to, dude, you gave away my name. So say again with the large groups, how do you handle that process? Because see, my thought too is when you look at those situations and you're paying a monthly amount, there can be that kind of guideline that, thanks, Scott. There could be that kind of situation where you have 8, 9, 10 people because you're allowing dues.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to make more money if you have more people. So how do you control? How do you take control of that gossip? How do you keep that gossip from happening?
That's a good question. It's really hard to control gossip because that's human nature.
Right.
You're always going to have someone talking about other people.
Yeah.
You just got to do your best to keep it at a minimum.
Yeah.
And if you can completely do away with it, great.
Right. Which is really hard to do, especially when people you get. It's going to be a natural situation.
If it gets out of hand, remove them from the team.
Yeah.
You can
Or
also
have,
use suspension. You
yeah,
don't go you're not going to participate in any investigations for X amount of time.
yeah, that's true. The also it's it's hard perspectives. There was a show, I think it was the happiest show ever, happiest man ever, I think is what I watched, and he brought up a point that sometimes people naturally get dramatic, they naturally gossip.
Mhm.
The trick is to take what they're saying and just understand that's a perspective and not let it
Mhm.
impact you in a dramatic way, which I have a problem with, is
Uh-huh.
going, okay, it happened, let's get on because it's going to happen anyway.
Mhm.
It's
Now,
true.
people can gossip about me all they want to. I really don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah. I kind of laugh when I hear it. I always want to hear
Mhm.
what people think, so it's always kind of funny if you hear it. He walks around like he has 7 legs.
Mhm.
Well, they still have 8 of them, not a spider. I mean, the,
But
yeah,
people that are going to cause trouble on a team,
uh,
uh, through gossip or other means,
yeah,
get rid of them because
yeah,
they're not going to benefit the team.
right.
They're only going to cause animosity.
Yeah,
Uh, they're going to cause division within a team,
yeah,
and that's going to affect an investigation.
yeah. Another part of it too, when you're dealing with the larger groups too, is that clash between what equipment to use, what not to use. Naturally, that's going to happen. You're going to have
Hmm.
some people that believe in apps. You're going to have some people that believe in flashlights. You're going to have some people that believe in, equipment. You're going to have some that don't believe in equipment. And I think that the challenge in that situation is having that chemistry to understand and respect each other.
That's right.
Yeah, there are very few groups I know that have a decently large amount of people, 8 to 12 people, who stay that way for a
Hmm.
long time. I don't know that many. I can tell you one group who have kept the same amount of people, the same people in it for 6 years, somewhere around that. But most of them will have one here or there, or you'll have 3 or 4.
Hmm.
The group I'm a part of, we had some that stepped away. We're not telling them that they can't come in or come back necessarily.
Hmm.
Maybe some of them here and there, but when it comes down to the main body, we've been together for a long
Hmm.
time.
If you have team members that have been there for a while, there's gonna be cohesion there.
Yeah,
Everybody knows what to do. Everybody knows what the other team members thinking. As far as the investigation, how they're going to react to the situation.
yeah, that's true. I think it's interesting too when you look at the different levels because you have some that have a gift of being able to sense the things they need to sense,
Hmm.
from being able to recognize when someone, uh, like when you're doing an investigation to a residential house, sometimes those people, the owners of the house, will think that they're being attacked
Hmm.
or feel like that out of concerns, and you have to give them that breakdown of, okay, this has not really happened that way.
Uh-huh.
So it's interesting because you have some people who just have a natural gift. Many people have it, but there are some that use it much stronger, and they've
Absolutely.
used it enough that they've gotten that ability. Then you have others that use equipment. So let's go into a different realm. Portals. How do you sense those in a situation? Usually you
Those
have to sense this, right?
Mhm. Those are kind of a sensitive topic for me because I'm not really convinced regarding portals.
Okay.
Uh, we we were told once by somebody that we had two portals at our LTRS, but we could never find any evidence of it.
Yeah. That's an area that always kind of I say cracks me up, but in a way it does because
Hmm.
so many people immediately want to point to the entrance way or the
Hmm.
doorway. Um, it kind of amazes me. I think it's because of the I guess a good word would say innocence,
Mhm.
of the knowledge and understanding of what it is. What is this, and how is it? You know, how am I getting this sense of feeling? How do these spirits show
Mhm.
up if they're not there all the time? And so I think the people who are more new to the paranormal realm and investigating are the ones that are quick to think portal, demon, kind of goes
Mhm.
along that same realm. And I wonder if it's kind of the drama impact. Maybe they're dramatic in their feelings or emotions.
Mhm.
Hi, Sheila.
Hi, Sheila. No, I remember watching a paranormal show a few years ago where this one guy built what he called a portal detector. It was an electronic device, and I watched him use it, and I'm thinking to myself, how on earth is this going to detect a portal?
Yeah, like, is it going to make a circle? You take your EMF and it's like nothing, something, nothing. Like, how much? I mean, to me, it has. If there's that magic word, and if it really is that abundant as it seems to be,
Mm-hmm.
you have to use your body and your mind to be able to sense it and feel what's there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Only one time, I think, in the amount of time that I've investigated, have I come across a situation where we felt like there was something there, and you could feel it in
Mm-hmm.
your fingers, you could feel the vibration happening in your hands when you went close enough to where that area might have been. It wasn't really a circular situation. It was like a door. It was more of a rectangular shape. It was in a closet, which is really interesting because I don't know how many times I've come across a situation where they're like, the closet is
Mm-hmm.
that. So Scott says, what about people that more open and sensitive to the paranormal? Yes. That's what I was thinking too of what you said. I think that um, there's a challenge there. Tell me what you think, Jack. I think that the hard part about being open and sensitive is also when you're newer to paranormal is getting the hang of what it is.
Uh-huh.
Because when you're first new to it, from what I seem to see, um, it's easier to think something's there until you really get a feeling that it's there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like fishing, right? When you drop your line in the water and you wait for the thing and all of a sudden it bounces and you're like, oh, and it really hit the ground. It's getting acquainted to what it is and verifying.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts about?
Well, as far as paranormal, the word paranormal actually means above that which is considered normal. And it doesn't just uh, encompass ghosts, spirits, demons. It covers a wide range of things like cryptids, ufology,
Ufology? What ufology?
UFOs.
Oh,
That's
gotcha.
that's considered part of the paranormal because it's above normal.
Right. The new term now is AEP, right? Isn't that the right letters? I think so. I've never known ufology, which makes sense.
Yeah. Uh, I've followed ufology for a long time since I was a kid. Because
Okay.
I used to live in Roswell, New Mexico,
Oh, okay.
Walker Air Force Base in Roswell, which used to be
Yeah.
known as Roswell Army Airfield, the site, where the bodies and all that were taken before being moved on to Wright Patterson and all that, and crash debris. In fact, my father, he was, since we were there, he was part of the, Strategic Air Command, and he told me a lot of stuff
Yeah.
that would boggle your mind.
Oh, I bet. I've seen I wish I could tell you the names. I've seen podcast interviews where a gentleman talks about being there and building the UFOs and
Mhm.
going through that process and seeing them, drawing the shapes out and what they look like,
Uh-huh.
which of course is fascinating from our side. With the paranormal side too. So, question there too. I'm not familiar as much as I'm fascinated by it. I'm not familiar with cryptid UFO. I think you could sense those.
Mhm.
Are there people that sense Bigfoot and those
There
entities?
are people who claim to be able to sense them.
Yeah. And when I say sense, sixth sense,
Mhm.
smell
Well,
and
okay.
sight.
I want to get back to Roswell for a moment.
Yeah,
When I
yeah.
was a kid living on the base, I attended elementary school at the base elementary school, and during recess one time, uh, Chris, uh, I looked up at the sky, me and several others, and we saw a silver object hovering high up in the sky. And at the time, uh, what were known now as security police were
Yeah.
then known as air police. The air policeman that was on the school ground looked up at it, and well, he wasn't too happy about seeing what he saw.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no kidding.
We all of us looked up and go, UFO.
Well, especially everyone sees it. Those kind
And
of examples where you can't
mhm.
deny. I mean, you get
Roswell was
yeah,
a SAC base, Strategic Air Command was based there.
yeah. I didn't,
And it was a hotbed for UFO activity. Of course, we had White Sands proving grounds, missile grounds where atomic tests were conducted and what have you. Not too far from there. So,
that's interesting. So in that situation, though, like in my head, my rational side of me wants to say, okay, everybody saw it. It was obvious, that it was a UFO, unidentified flying object.
mhm.
And you mentioned the nuclear thing. Could there be anything affiliated between the nuclear tests that went on not too far from there and the things that are occurring in that area?
A lot of researchers say that there's a correlation.
Yeah.
Some say that aliens were watching the underground tests and monitoring
Yeah.
our advancement in the nuclear field.
Mhm.
In fact, there have been instances where our some of our nuclear missile sites were taken offline by UFOs.
Really? Wow. That's wild. They mentioned weather balloon a minute ago too. I want to post that one. I want to jump real quick on that. A lot of weather balloons are very, very common to be mistaken
Hmm.
in those situations. Usually, the weather balloons, from what I understand, are things that are floating up or floating down. The pace of those things rising and falling are what people misinterpret
Hmm.
to be that. But then in this situation, with what Jack and I were talking a minute ago, it was something that literally flew horizontally through the sky, right?
Hmm.
So, but yeah. So I just want to kind of jump on that with the weather balloon thing because it is very common and people. It's
Oh
easy
yeah,
to interpret.
a
Frisbees.
lot of things that have been called UFOs were just misidentified weather balloons and
Yeah,
uh, Venus, the planet Venus,
yeah,
certain weather phenomena, clouds.
yeah.
Yeah, but there's that the other small percent that has no explanation.
Right. That matches the paranormal, hypothesis. I mean,
Hmm.
everything that goes on in our realm, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot, Loch Ness monster, all those kind of things. It's about the study of the paranormal. Why did this
Hmm.
happen? And can I validate or verify the real science behind why I'm experiencing what I am?
Hmm.
Yeah. So have you gone, like when you were a kid and you saw experiences like that, did you at all wonder, yeah, it's going to sound so funny, but did you ever wonder when your mind could associate it? Was there a mental health condition you kind of went, am I having an issue here mentally? Because I bring it up because so many people, when they're first experiencing something and asked to investigate, that's one of the first things they tell us is, listen, I don't think I have a mental problem here. It's a lot of them tend to say that first. Why am I doing this? It doesn't make sense to me. Why am I experiencing this? That's why I asked that question. Have you ever had a situation like that, early?
Well, I always question what I see.
Yeah.
It's for me. It's did I actually see what I saw, or is my mind playing tricks on me?
Yeah.
Is it the way the light's hitting something?
Yeah.
Is my vision acting up?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That'll play.
Right. Yeah. I tend to do the same thing. There is that part of me, like I said, where emotionally I want to see it and I get excited. And just like any real enthusiast or new person into paranormal investigating wants to do the same thing. They want to get into it, they want to see it. So they hope it is. But you have to literally step out of that realm to say, all right, let's validate this. Let's go through a checklist. Let's look at this and make sure,
That is absolutely right. Some of the debris was brought to Vance.
Wow.
And disappeared.
Yeah. Really
Probably
disappeared.
sitting in some government warehouse somewhere.
Yeah. Who knows? But that's crazy. I didn't realize that happened. So, like, was it like that whole debris, the whole got disappeared, or was it just they realized that some of it was gone?
Some say an entire craft had been recovered and sent somewhere and disappeared. Debris from a crashed craft. Parts of it.
Yeah. Wow.
Bodies, alien bodies, and stuff like that.
Holy cow!
There have been some whistleblowers that have written books about actually seeing bodies.
That I heard about. Well, I actually seen even on other podcasts where they talk about the things they see.
I've read Major Kehoe's books. I've read The Day After Roswell.
Oh yeah,
and several others.
Wow. Yeah, the gentleman I was watching never talked about, or correctly, he didn't talk about things missing, but he talked about the one thing that he mentioned that kind of got me was the speed and the velocity of trajectories of the UFOs that were sightings, the strange ways that they would move. And he had described when he was investigating that it was the way that the magnets were designed, they almost kind of repelled each other but locked themselves into a force, and that caused it to repel, so to speak, or change its velocity.
Magnetic propulsion, electromagnetic propulsion.
Oh, okay, that's what that is. Gotcha. It's so funny because I sound like the guy who just didn't know anything. I don't. I mean,
I believe they're still experimenting with forms of that, trying to perfect it.
Yeah, it makes sense. If it could help us with our own end, I'd be happy to have a car to do that. Get up off the ground, no flat tires.
Dad waited till just a few years before he died, before he started telling me about all of that. And he sat me down and told me what all he had seen, the orders that they were under. And I have no reason to doubt him.
Yeah. There was someone I hung out with in El Reno at the fort when we walked around, and she had demonstrated to me different areas that are like she had caught an alien EVP that she had caught near a building. And that building's really interesting because it gets naturally, you could be outside in the spring and go over to that building and put your fingers on the windowsill. It's like 95 degrees. Like it's for some reason burning hot, which is fascinating. And I think she had told me something about something has to be in there, obviously.
Hmm.
But it was an old, I think, World War II building, maybe. I can't remember. I don't have the memory to remember those things anymore. But yeah, another thing too with like UFOs is uh, they have that theory. There was that naval pilot that was flying, and something came up in the air and moved on, and they kept talking about it being kind of the way that the eyes see it through light because of gas.
Hmm.
Do you understand what they're referring to on that part of it?
I'd have to research it some more. I'm vaguely familiar with what they're talking about, but I'd have to research it some more.
Yeah, and I can't remember. I was trying to research some, trying to understand what their perspectives were, and they mentioned. I thought I don't know what that is, but it was almost like they just gave a big excuse about something that happened. Yeah.
Hmm.
Which is kind of it's interesting how a friend of mine told me. He said, why is it that there's so many things that are not discussed and they're concealed and not communicated? I was telling him it's mainly the panic that.
Yeah, they don't want. Supposedly, they don't want to panic the public.
Yeah.
But my personal opinion is the public can handle a lot more than what the government thinks we can.
Yeah. Yeah. Look at all the things that happen, like weather crisis. When a flood happens, the whole city gets involved to fix the problem.
Hmm.
Or like a colony of ants, so to speak. We'll go fix what the problem is as a group.
Hmm. And
That's what. Yeah.
there are some who believe that the government made secret deals with aliens that to allow them to operate in our skies and
But,
take abductees and what have you. Now, I
Men in
don't
Black.
know so much about the second part of that, but it wouldn't surprise me if the government did make deals.
Yeah. Well, especially if I was a politician in the U.S. and I need to stay ahead of all the other technology out there in other countries, it's going to get me something. I
Hmm.
mean, why not, right?
Yeah, supposedly the deal was we'll let you operate in our airspace
Yeah.
in exchange for technology.
Kind of makes you wonder what kind of stuff's going to happen. Like, what things are we going to discover? Any tips on the best way to focus in on your abilities to be able to get past the did I really see? Beautiful question. Love it. Um,
I would say
Jack?
exercise those abilities. Get to
Mhm.
uh, use them, use
Yeah.
them, use them, use them, and get to trust your senses.
A good way to do that also is journal. Journal
Hmm.
down the events that you're having, like especially you
Absolutely.
investigate, get an idea, write down what you think you feel, and then listen to your evidence and watch your video evidence, and also research your history. Look
Hmm.
into the history and see, did I get a name? And go look up that history and see if you can find any articles about it, or ask somebody like a curator if they knew that name. We actually did an investigation at a theater in El Reno. We do tours there now, but we did an investigation at that theater, and our co-founder picked up on a name, and I found that name matching the years that they described in findagrave.com. The name came up. It's reassuring as a person newer into it to say, "Oh wow, I was right," and that gives you that confidence to recognize your abilities.
What if you're a little scared to do that? Uh, the more you work with your abilities, the less you become afraid of it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
Scott. Sorry, go
if
ahead.
you if you're afraid, then put up your own protective barriers.
Yeah. Yep. But what Scott said, Bird Creek School is recognized as being a haunted place. I haven't met any paranormal groups yet that have gone in. I'll be glad to learn that from someone with the evidence that they've collected. I have heard people say that it is definitely a place that is active regarding that school. I think someone may have gotten in there, unfortunately, and trespassed into it, sad to say, but hopefully it didn't happen. But usually there's always a story that someone did.
Mm-hmm. And that sort of illegal activity ruins it for legitimate investigators.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a place now where they're like, in fact, there's two places I know of right now that, oh no, three. They don't want anybody coming in. Yeah. The thing, and Scott, you mentioned a word in there that I just want to kind of encourage with that as well. The word haunted. A lot of people use that word, not saying wrong or right. Love to hear the perspectives on this. That's what we're all about here, is to compare our philosophies, so to speak, in paranormal. When I think haunted, I think negative. So sometimes there are many locations that don't have a negative feeling. And so you'll hear me use the word active more often.
I prefer the word active, because haunted does have a negative connotation, like something evil happened here, and there's evil beings here, evil spirits.
Yep.
When it could be just some benevolent spirit that hasn't may not even know that the individual died, and it's stuck there.
Yeah, yeah. So I said it mainly so that you know that. If I say active, I'm kind of paralleling the word you use. Haunted is a very common word used when brought up. Feel free to use it. I just want to let you know, if you hear me talk about active, that's where I'm referring to, the same thing. It's interesting how, again, it's the philosophy changes. As you investigate more and more, you go from, like I went from the ghost hunter, and you probably went from the UFO person to the paranormal investigator. A complete different perspective. Most people are out there doing certain ones, and you get started doing that, but then you transition to realize, what's doing this? What is this really causing this? Yeah. We had an interesting situation happen in last weekend. Someone was using an AI device with their phone, with my phone. We placed those together, and it gave a visualization. And as they were looking and describing it, they put their hands through something. It was like a complete cold temperature out of nowhere, And our first thought is to say, I just went through a person, but we don't know them.
Yeah.
It's like, it's something as we're talking right now, I'm realizing I should have stopped, and I should have gone through and evaluated this and said, okay, let's see what this is. Is it a mass ball that's all cold and it just kind of is floating around somewhere? Did anybody else get cold after? I got cold right afterward, and my elbow felt like it was wet. Which I never, maybe my group could tell me otherwise, but I've never, to my knowledge, gone, wow, I have a cold spell right now, and it felt damp on my elbow. I think we should have evaluated that to see, did something move, and if it was, what is it?
I tend to differentiate ghost hunters from paranormal investigators. This is my personal opinion, that ghost hunters are thrill seekers. Paranormal investigators are the ones who are seriously looking for answers.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you feel that way about people that spend time investigating just UFOs or cryptids?
You have some that are thrill seekers in those fields too, and you also have those that are very serious and legitimate investigators trying to find answers.
That's a good perspective on this too, because you have to remember that when you're going through investigating, even if you get lost or wrapped up in it, because the atmosphere and the environment. A lot of people get stereotypical. If I go to a building, I'm looking for a ghost. If I go outside and I'm in a certain area, I'm looking for an alien or I'm looking for Bigfoot. I'm squatch hunting. So you have to remember that you have to leave yourself open to all those things.
Absolutely.
As I fall back and disappear in my house. Actually, could be your house. We're sharing the same image.
I know there's activity in my house.
Yeah.
Because I've experienced it. I've
I watched the
seen.
shows.
Well, you've seen the picture that one of my security cameras picked up inside the house,
Yes. Yeah, that was crazy.
and I welcome them. I tell them, as long as you don't cause any trouble,
Right.
you're welcome here.
Yeah. The hard part of that though is you have a certain level you got to be careful of because you want to give them those guidelines.
You got to
I
set
remember,
boundaries.
yeah, I remember laying it, and actually, it was a really weird situation for me. All quiet, and I need in prayer, and I ask God to just protect me and cleanse the place out, remove all the negativity, and suddenly my ceiling you could hear footsteps,
hmm
the floor of footsteps, which is real distracting during prayer time. That doesn't make
I
any sense.
can remember one time I was trying to sleep in my bed, and there was movement all over my bedroom. And I finally got tired of it because I had to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get ready to go to work.
Thank you.
And I finally said, "Will you be quiet? I'm trying to go to sleep." And all of a sudden, it got quiet for,
Wow,
for the
which is
rest of the
cool.
night.
Which is cool. The hard part is you want to acknowledge it, but then if you acknowledge it, it's kind of like acknowledging your dog, right? Your dog
hmm
responds. Like, okay. So there's a question about that too. Now I said the word response. You investigate a place, brand new, doesn't have a lot, like you've never been there before. And the first night, you got some kind of activity. Do you think that every time you go back, does it get more used to the equipment and therefore it gets more responses?
It can.
I tend to,
Once the place gets accustomed to you,
yeah,
you can get a lot more responses. Just like our long-term research site there in Guthrie, the entities there got to where they called us by name,
oh yeah,
and we
yes,
have them on EVP referring to us by name.
yeah, yes. It's really weird when you get that kind of feeling too. I mean, even though you know they're there, like, okay, thanks for telling me my name.
They There was one occasion where one of the guys wasn't there, and they asked about him.
Yeah.
Where is Tony?
Oh
And
yeah.
we're going, he's sick.
That's the crazy part too, is trying to, like there's that rational side of you that doesn't want to respond to it, but they're asking for you. They're asking
hmm
for a reason.
There were genuine concern there. Like
Although,
one of our guys brought some night vision goggles to
yeah.
experiment with, and we got an EVP asking if he had gone blind.
That's awesome.
Mentioned him by name and said, "Has so and so gone blind?" And we're going, "Wow."
Yeah. Yeah, seriously. Which is, it's interesting because there are, as you mentioned, that there are times where the evidence comes back, they can see details enough to
hmm
identify things like that. Yeah.
Once they get used to you, uh, if you're not there, they want to know why.
Yeah.
In fact, they even had a nickname for us. We came in one night and we heard them on our recorder saying, "Here come Ron's baboons."
I forgot about that story. I remember you told me that one. I was trying to remember the one at the top of my head. There was one that you told me early, and it was about, what was it? Something about the communication, how to communicate. I don't know. It escapes me. Sometimes I get my mind. I get started on a thing and then it just goes away. But yeah, it's interesting when you get those responses.
hmm
Like when they get detailed responses like that, not just when they start asking questions about that. And that's the hardest part too, because that's proof that certain equipment that we use does work enough that you can validate as long as you're verifying and you're using multiple equipment. You're making sure that you're getting this from two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Still get answers to it with equipment that you can doubt would work. Oh, that's the other one. So, what are your thoughts about infrared? So, they say that animals see infrared, and that's why it makes it hard to hunt them.
Mm-hmm.
Someone had a good point that infrared can also be a situation when you're Squatch, when you're Bigfoot hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Could it be a possibility that they see infrared and therefore they might not show up a certain area?
It's possible. We know certain snakes can see in the infrared spectrum.
Yeah.
Certain other animals can see into it. And I've read somewhere where some dogs and cats can see into the infrared spectrum. I need to do some more research in that area, find out what species.
Yeah. It'd be interesting, especially like from that perspective too. Monkeys or whatever that might be affiliation in DNA.
Now, I've read somewhere where the CIA back in the 50s or 60s, somewhere around in there, did experiments with infrared by injecting certain people with cells from animals that can see infrared,
Yeah.
and they were able to see infrared. Now, whether or not that's true, I don't know. I have. It's been a long time since I've read that study.
Yeah. Oh, was that? Would you say it was around the same time that they were doing the whole remote viewing thing?
Probably, because they were experimenting with a lot of different things.
Because I knew there was a phase of time where they were not only supporting it, they were they're supporting it. They were almost promoting it in their own background of their research, but they never brought it up that they acknowledged it. Yeah,
absolutely. They were looking at using remote viewing to assassinate political targets.
Yeah. I'm trying to think back then. Of course, we had all those different wars: Korean War, Vietnam War.
They used remote viewing one time to locate a downed aircraft in some jungle-infested area.
Yeah, that's the stuff that gets me. But there's no logical way you could have figured out where something was, yet you found it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to admit to your abilities or what you're working on. I mean, how can you deny it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
They gotta have the plausible deniability.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense too with them, especially in those situations.
We know the Russians were working on it. CIA was working on it.
Yeah.
North Korea, China were all working on it.
Yeah. It's fascinating to see the war between all the countries that will go to that extreme too to work on this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
As we approach the hour at the end, I am very curious if anybody wants to voice their opinions. We're trying to figure out the topics that we should talk about and prepare those topics, especially during a time that we don't have anyone coming in for interviews and everything else. We have someone coming in next week. I really recommend that you want to be a part of it. Really important interview I'm really excited about. But if there are certain topics that you want to hear from us, what we think about, or you want to share your own perspectives, please, by all means, tell us. We'd love to hear what you think about. Yes, Scott, Blanchard Cemetery, that is a place that I've heard over and over again, repetitive times, is another active place. I have heard multiple times, multiple people go there and get crazy stories. I was offhand, I remember one person saying that they saw an apparition there, which seeing an apparition anywhere is a shock. to experience. But I have heard that is. Keep in mind, of course, as we say that, make sure you mind the times that cemeteries are open to anyone watching this. That's really crucial. Some are private, some might be city run or county run, but they're going to have sometimes time limits, and they'll have them on those gates. It's easy for us to get excited and think, oh, the gate's shut, but it doesn't have time. I don't recommend taking the chance.
Absolutely. You find yourself trespassing and getting into some serious trouble.
Yep. Especially those little private ones where people will actually shoot at you. Or shoot around you. Yeah. Appreciate that, Scott, in regards to those areas that you've heard of, or if you ever experienced them, love to get your input on what you've experienced as well. But yeah, feel free anytime you want to message Paranormal Perspectives TV. Let us know what topics you want to hear about, so we can get things scheduled in our plans, and we can work on those kind of topics with you. Ironically, Jack and I and Chris, we tend to just have a good time cutting up about different topics, and you never know where we're going to go. Fortunately, we can do that for an hour.
As you can see, we like to have a little bit of fun when we talk about the topics. We kind of joke around a little bit, but we're also very serious about what we do.
Yeah. And I hope you always feel respect from us in regards to what you say and what you believe in your philosophies. We're not here to condemn a person's opinions and philosophies. We're here again because it's perspective, paranormal perspectives.
I welcome views that differ from mine.
Yep. Yeah, I love skeptics. Skeptics wake me up to things that I never thought about before. I think I mentioned it before on one of our shows. We had a person on one of the tours, and they said, "Oh, these things don't work. The REM pods." I said, "What do you mean?" And he stomped on the floor, and the REM pod was up in the air, and it went off. And I went, "What? Do it again." And he did. And I'm like, "No, that's not right." And he showed me, and the wiring for that equipment can be loose, so therefore you don't have your REM pod. You have to be careful when you're stepping on the floor and things like that too.
Electronics have a propensity for failure, for malfunctioning, and not working according to what we would like them to.
Yeah. I'm really curious about, now Steve Huff is rolling out this app, not to promote it out. It's not a promotion, just let you know. But he's rolling out an app. He did the portal for a while, and I'm dying of curiosity to see how this Transcend app is going to do. I'd really love to see what it does from an app perspective. Of course, I keep apps at my bottom of my list of my investigations, but I am curious. He did a good job at the portal. It was real fascinating what kind of things they had going on. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I think it comes out this week, I believe. Well, we are approaching the top of the hour. Please, hope you enjoy it. I hope that we continue offering you entertainment you can enjoy and bring up some good conversation and topics with you. Again, message us. Let us know what topics you want to hear. If there's certain people that you'd like us to interview, if we can get them on, we'll try to do that with you. Please feel free to let us know that.
I have to excuse myself for a moment. I'll be right back.
Okay. On that note, Jack, I think we'll just call it a show because we only got 1 minute left.
I will be right back.
Okay, I'll hold. Just kidding. So, appreciate your time and communicating with us on everything. Even though he stepped away, he did a good job of lasting the hour. So hats off to Jack for that. Let us know what you think. Again, we'd love to hear that you're sharing this to other people if they're interested. This is about perspective. It's about your beliefs as much as it is about ours. And if you have questions or you have opinions, we want to see those. Appreciate you definitely being a part of this tonight. Please feel free next week. We'll come in. I recommend it. We will have a gentleman on that is real pivotal in the paranormal community. It'll be a good interview. We'll be discussing with him some different topics. So, thanks for joining us. Take care.